Cairo. Hey man.
Hey,
Hey Hendrik.
so
Hendrik, how's your vacation?
oh, it was good. It was very, very good.
Where did you end up going again?
Excuse me?
So where did you end up going again?
To the Netherlands. So it wasn't that far. It was like a 4 hour ride
Oh, nice.
from. Yeah, that's like nearest to the sea. Is to go to the Sea of the Netherlands, and yeah, that was really nice. I mean, not perfect weather, right? But it was. We had a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, a little bit of sunshine, but it was always good enough to go out with a dog for like 2 hours to the sea. That was quite nice and refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds relaxing. Yeah, so I only got one thing on the agenda today. That's Roger. He wanted to go over some of the SDK publishing stuff. Messaging him now, so it looks like he's not on the call. But did anyone else have anything they wanted to go over? I didn't really have anything else um, that I wanted to talk about today. Keith?
Yeah, thanks. I want to quickly discuss the agenda for this call, and I guess more broadly, I mean, this is a point I've been raising. I think both Hendrik and yourself and Simi. Um, you know, I, we don't have to do it for this meeting, but I think as a standing agenda for this meeting, what I'd like to propose is that each of the maintainers of the different SDKs, like we do a roundtable where each of them kind of talk about what it is they're working on in the next sprint, I guess, because these calls are every 2 weeks, and maybe some issues they're facing, or especially for the Python SDK, and then also we often have these demos we do internally, but I think it'd be great to move those demos to this external meeting where they can demo off like new functionality that's been added to the SDK. Like I understand there's some building blocks we need in place for that, but I want to use this as like the context because this is also probably how I would like to maybe structure some of the other community meetings. But I think the SDK meeting is kind of the tip of the spear.
Yeah, no, so I've thought of that. I guess my main concern with that is, well, I guess not concern, but I'm curious about the value that that would bring to other attendees on this call. I guess like would as we can ask, go ahead and ask that right now. Like if we did something where the each SDK did like an update about things they're working on, issues, so on and so forth. Would that be valuable information to other people on this call?
Well, maybe I could just say something quickly, Robert. Maybe it won't be of value to some of the attendees on the call today, but if our goal is broad participation across all of our SDKs, this is just a necessary element we're going to have is that if I'm working on the C++ SDK, okay, I get an update and I maybe you can ask questions. I don't think they have to be long updates because, as you know, with the SDKs, actually updates often can be quite repetitive. Like we add HIP 1139 to all of the SDKs at the same time. So we don't need to talk about HIP 1139 for every SDK, but maybe like just like our internal meetings, maybe just one SDK, we do a demo or something of it. Um, sorry, I'll shut up, but just my 2 cents.
Yeah, Hendrik.
Um, so I think there is a benefit. So it shouldn't be for sure like the whole meeting just showing demos or something like that. But when I look at, as an example, today we have one agenda item on the agenda, and even if Roger would be here and show it, this will definitely not fill full hour. So I assume in general, if we do not, like end in some discussions that go endless, like we did it in the last meeting last year, I think we have enough time in those meetings to show process. And I think that is a positive thing to show like, hey, we've moved this forward, we moved that forward. We are now able in 5 of the 6 or 7 SDKs to work with hooks, things like that. I would appreciate that. And I assume people will learn out of it. That is my point of view here.
Yeah, no, I mean, so if people find value in that, then absolutely we can try and start doing that. I guess I just wanted to like I know we do have a full hour here, and I guess I just didn't want to feel like, we just wanted to, put stuff in here just to fill up the hour, just for the sake of filling up the hour. I want like the discussion, everything here to, you know, provide, value to the people that are here. But if people would like to hear these updates and it would, provide value to them, then, absolutely we can start kind of pushing that forward more.
That would
I mean,
be
I just
really
frame it a different way, Hendrik. It's just like if this is the SDK community call, if this is the place where the community comes together to talk about the advancements of the repo, I would actually say it's almost necessary that we give those kind of updates. But sorry, I heard somebody else wanted to talk.
I think Sophie was going to say something.
no. I just wanted to agree that it's a good idea to be able to hear more different things happening in different SDKs. I mean, I have come to this meeting quite often and I talk about the things that are important to me. But yeah, it would be really great to be able to hear from all the other SDKs and then maybe have some time towards the end to talk about like more specific deep dives.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess I also know that like some of the topics that we do bring here, like even if we maybe only have one or two on the agenda, they, sometimes do take the full hour. And personally, for me, like I feel like those discussions have been very constructive um and good. So I guess like I guess I lean more on the side of like I want those discussions to still um happen or be able to happen, fully. Um, and I guess I just don't want, something to something maybe less valuable to, take up the time for of something like that. Like again, like I know it's, on a per meeting basis, like sometimes, like in this meeting we don't necessarily have a lot to discuss this time around, but um other meetings, I just like maybe that's something that we can maybe do the updates or the SDK updates like, after the main discussion topics or something like that. Because again, I feel like I want to make sure that any discussion that's brought here is able to be had fully. Are there any opinions on that?
Yeah, I would just suggest, Robin, this is perspective, right? I mean, I find a lot of the API 3.0 API conversations after the first 5 minutes quite, I kind of tune out, but I think we just have to say like there'll be a variety of people coming to this meeting. Like, somebody who's interested in contributing to the C++ SDK will definitely be interested in hearing about what's happening with the C++ SDK and might not be interested in, a future like API 3.0 conversation. I also think like you hear some of these updates in other meetings, so it maybe seems less interesting to you, but for people who never hear these updates, it'll be very interesting to them. Okay, I mean, I'll stop there. I would say like this, the agenda of this call should be, this is a community call. It should be driven by the community. I'm just providing maybe some suggestions on, particularly if we want to attract a wide range of contributors to all the SDKs, some of the agenda items I kind of almost think we have to do.
I think looking at the participant list, we do have some attendees that are not maintainers. So I don't know if they would want to speak out, like Angelina or Farzan or Mario. If like and Jessica, like what is interesting to you with the SDK community goal, and what would you personally like to see more of in this goal?
Well, currently I'm the maintainer of the TCK. So yeah, I'm here if there's any questions about it.
Apologies if I misunderstand here. I do apologize. The audio for me has been coming in and out. I've been having audio issues all morning. But I do think as the title does describe, it is Hiero SDK Community Call. So I guess what I would like to see is just more information, more input, more updates on the other SDKs like Java, Swift, and so on and so forth. Even though those maintainers of these SDKs may not attend, it is nice for me and maybe some other people that can't speak on their behalf. But for me personally, I do enjoy having those updates, even though I may not actively participate. It is nice knowing what is going on with those SDKs. And that way, if time does allow and I have more free time, it's nice to be able to join in and have prior knowledge of what's currently going on.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, so going forward, we can definitely look to provide more of these updates. Hopefully get a maintainer from each SDK in here to provide just like a quick update of what they're doing every week and uh issues, PRs, blockers, all that stuff. So then people can stay up to date. Um, yeah, I can look to start getting that going for sure.
I mean,
Do we
even if like at some weeks one or two SDKs don't have a maintainer here, we have so many SDKs that we will have some features that can be shown, and even that is a benefit from my point of view. But I agree with you, Rob. It should be best if we have at least one maintainer from each of the SDKs here in that meeting.
we could maybe
Hey,
like sorry, is that Keith?
so I was going to say, and the TCK, because the TCK is becoming such an important part of the platform. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I I agree, and I assume that will be my role in being the representative of the TCK here in that meeting. I'm not a committer on any SDK, so I assume I'm the TCK representative then.
Well, Mario just said that he's a TCK maintainer. I know I've worked on the TCK a little bit too. But yeah, I think as far as, each SDK giving an update, yeah, I agree with kind of I think what we're all saying is getting a maintainer from each of those in here to provide an update. Um, yeah, again, if that's, valuable to people, which it sounds like it is. So um, yeah, we
So
can we can definitely look to get that going.
how will we do the round robin? Is it like alphabetical? Do we have like a list of maintainers? I mean, I made a mistake. Sorry, Mario. I don't have the maintainer list memorized. Because I think we may have already a couple of maintainers here. We could try it out and see if it's helpful, and then if that only takes like 5 to 10 minutes, we could continue with the discussion on the JavaScript and Rust publishing. Hendrik?
Yeah, Hendrik.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry. So, my point of view is I think we should not do it alphabetically or something like that. We have this agendas now that Rob is currently preparing in the wiki up front, and everybody who's a maintainer, if I understand see it correctly, can add things to that agenda, right? So my wish would be that if you, as a maintainer of an SDK, have shown something in the internal, maybe Hashgraph internal demo or sprint meeting, please put it onto this agenda that you show it here to the public too. So people should fill that agenda with, things they would like to share. And I think we should not like go alphabetically through every person or every SDK. That would be my wish. Does that make sense?
He's saying just kind of keep it in the order of whatever people put
It's in
on.
the agenda. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe you know, we can have every maintainer for each SDK just come in here and put like one or two lines of things they want to update on for their SDK, and then whatever that order is the order that we'll keep.
I think, Robert, this looks a lot like our internal sprint meeting. Not that we talk about what the priorities are, but where each of the SDKs kind of talks about what they're working on, and also gives a demo if we one demo for each of the maybe the implementations.
Yeah, I guess maybe were you kind of suggesting there we can just use this call to replace those internal meetings?
I mean, I think that's the broader discussion that Hendrik, I'm hoping you can drive with Richard. But yes, I think that's what I mean. We should still have internal meetings for sprint planning, but those can be much shorter meetings, I feel. And like a lot of like when we talk about like what people are working on and like again, like a demo of HIP 1195 or something like that, I think should be in this meeting. But I think that's something that Hendrik, I think we need to agree on with the leadership team.
Yeah. I agree on it. And um, so I already assumed that for the SDKs, some of those action happened. Um, but when I heard discussions about should people attend this meeting or not, maybe they have not happened, and I need to recheck.
Yeah, I mean, like Robert, just to give context, like in a lot of other Linux open source projects that I don't know if you attend, but like a lot of other projects that I attend, like basically all other than like nobody's telling somebody to work on something, but like all planning happens in the community meetings because that's kind of the nature of how it should work, right? Like that's where everyone talks about issues and updates and things like that is in this kind of public community meeting.
I
It's a
mostly
public.
agree. Yeah. Yeah, I would mostly agree. I think we have the point here that we have a lot, working full time and some people working part-time and maybe the people working part-time for them, a sprint planning, as an example, is not that interesting. So the demos and things like that are more interesting. So maybe we need two meetings then. That is something we need to discuss. But where I totally agree is that should happen in the open. And that has already been discussed for the SDKs. And I totally agree on that.
Okay. Yeah, this is good feedback. Yeah, I'll take this back to Simi. And then, Keith, maybe you and I could figure out with her if, we do actually just want to end up moving, sprint planning and syncs all to this Monday meeting. Um, yeah, again, it sounds like that'd be valuable for the community to be a part of.
Well, just to be clear, I do think sprint planning should be a private meeting, a Hashgraph meeting. Maybe it can be but maybe it can be half an hour, like a very short meeting where we just kind of agree on priorities within the Hashgraph team. But like everything else, I think should move to this meeting.
Okay. I guess I misunderstood. I thought you were saying that, a lot of other community calls you're part of do all their planning in the open. So I guess that I thought that's what you were saying we should do as well.
I mean, planning as a project, but often there'll be teams that are working full time. Like I have no illusion that they don't talk about their internal planning in the open community meetings, and neither I don't think neither should we. But I think that I think it's more like probably this one falls on Hendrik, and I'll support Hendrik is like I think we're using SDK as a model for other teams, but eventually what I'd like to see is all Hashgraph projects, whether it's consensus node or mirror node, we are all kind of following the same model for the community calls. Where most of a lot of the discussion and ability to answer questions and things like that are happening in the community calls, and then just the sprint planning is happening privately.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I guess any last comments, questions about kind of that plan from anyone? Otherwise, I'm gonna hand it over to Andrew. All right, cool. Andrew, go ahead.
All right, so I'm here to talk about Rust and JavaScript SDK publishing. Right now, we are dual publishing to both the Hashgraph, the Hedera, and the Hiero Ledger namespaces. And we want to cut that down to only publishing to the Hiero Ledger namespace. We think that these workflow updates should be relatively minimal, and we should be able to get them done later this week. Does it make sense for us to flip the switch on Friday or Thursday or Friday this week? So then, starting Monday next week, we are only publishing under the Hiero Ledger namespace for these two SDKs.
Um, don't we usually try to avoid kind of making changes like this on Friday, just like in case something or is this more just like setting stuff in stone for, the new releases to start this new workflow on Monday?
Yeah, so it would much more be the second one, sorry. It would be develop and get everything prepped Thursday and Friday, and then actually throw the switch on Monday.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds fine to me. I guess I would maybe ask Vanko as well. I see you're here. Do you have
Yeah.
any problems with that?
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Keith?
I mean, my sneaking suspicion still is that nobody's or very few people are using the Rust SDK, or maybe no one's using the Rust SDK. But do we have any? I mean, we did have this hope within the metrics that we were getting more information on this, but I don't think it's turned out quite that way. Or maybe for Rust, maybe we can look. But are we able to look at any activity stats on the repo to get an indication of when, like what day might be good type thing?
I mean, it's not going to matter until we hit publish on the new SDK package. So we can throw the switch whenever we want because all of the existing ones will stay up there. It's just that when a new SDK package is ready for release, it will only be published to the Hiero Ledger organization.
Okay. But then, I mean, my opinion is we could do it at probably any time. Again, I don't think many people are using the Rust SDK, so I'm not sure it matters too much.
Yeah, is this just want to make sure this is in line with the communicated timeline that we've been putting out since we started doing this dual publishing. I think it is, but just want to make sure with that. Like, did we publish any like particular like we're gonna do this on this release or on this date or anything like that?
I'm not sure. Hendrik, do you know if we've published any communication like that?
Not sure.
Okay, maybe I can double check with uh or do look on the Discord or double check with DevRel really quick. Assuming that everything's in line again, I'm good to do this next Monday. Yeah, maybe you'll just want to double check really quick.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Uh, Trying to remember if this was actually published in the Hiero Discord or if it was in the Hedera Discord.
Yeah, so if you go to the Hiero SDK JS, there's a link to this discussion that I just put in the Zoom chat. And if you scroll down to the bottom of that, Simi says that dual publishing 112 complete, which would be today. So I think we're generally good to go there.
Okay.
And I don't even see a Rust SDK channel. So is that something?
Wait, you're talking about the Hedera Discord.
I'm talking about the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust Discord under the
So
Hiero section.
I see a Hiero SDK Rust channel, but I don't see your message in the Hiero SDK JavaScript channel.
I did not send a message in the SDK
Oh,
JS channel.
sorry, what have you said? I
I dropped it in Zoom chat.
Sorry
So
about that.
So I put the link into the blog post. I think it's the blog post which is operative. I believe the blog post includes the Rust. I mean, I don't know if it includes the date. I haven't learned back through it. I think, but that's the main blog post.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, this is okay. It looks like it says 6 months. It's not getting specific dates though. But yeah, I mean, if that discussion right here says 112, then I'm assuming this is a date that everyone's aligned on, and even if we can't find it directly right now, I'm assuming that this is the date that's been communicated. So. Yeah, again, like this sounds good to me. It looks like the dates are all uh good and in sync. So this is fine with me.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay. Yeah, again, that's all we had on the agenda today. Any other discussions people wanted to have? We still got a good half hour left here. Yeah, open floor.
I've been using the Discord a little bit more recently, and yeah, I did notice that there were some channels that are not there, possibly because they just haven't been added yet. So I don't know where would be like the point of contact for stuff related to this call. Would we have like a Discord channel for that, or do we use any existing ones?
You mean like next to having one channel for each SDK, have an Hiero SDK general channel kind of thing?
Yeah. I guess like it wouldn't. It's similar to Hiero maintainers chat that already exists, but maybe it should be slightly different.
I'm fine with
In
that.
the sense that it's like, okay, it's for the maintainers, but it's also for the community. Because I'm just thinking like how we're still trying to grow the Python SDK LFDT channel activity. And I know we're getting some questions there now and some comments there now, but I think we also have some attendees from the Python community here in this chat, like Priyanshu, Angelina, Farzan. But yeah, because it's still quite new, and yeah, I'm not sure I would be able to kind of collect enough community voices from the Python SDK Discord. I mean, maybe it would be more helpful having like a single chat for this community call, but I don't know. That's an idea. I'm
Yeah,
just
we
trying to think how to solve that problem.
makes totally sense. And Jessica and I just created a channel. It's called Hiero SDK Community. I moved it just over all the other SDK channels. And now I'm checking because it looks like I now have the rights. I can add a topic to this channel. This is the general Hiero SDK channel. Let's see where this is shown. Boom. Save. Oh, it's just on the top. This is the general Hiero SDK channel. Okay. So if we have that, oh yeah, that too. Maybe it makes sense to pin a message to each SD to this channel and to the SDK channels saying like, oh, if you have something specific for one language, please put it into the regarding channel. And otherwise, the Hiero SDK community is the best place. And next to this, hey, here's this Monday meeting where you can attend if you have any questions regarding SDKs in general.
And then pinning a message, is that something that the LFTT will have to do, or is that something that I could do? For example, I'm happy to help with that.
I would say we can do. I don't know who all has the privileges to do so. If you don't have, I'm just realized I have, then we could, Sophie, we have a meeting tomorrow. Maybe we then use just that meeting to work on it as an example.
I'll put the link to the new community Discords, the direct link. If you are already part of the Linux Foundation decentralized trust Discord, you should be able to just access that directly. Because I was having some difficulty with Discord. I found some of the community chats were like all the way at the bottom for me because I hadn't added them to my favorites list. Yeah, so if that helps anyone. Thanks for creating it, Jessica and Hendrik.
But I, Hendrik, what I would suggest is I actually think we need to put some thought into the communication strategy because I think it's one of those things where we just don't want to create a bunch of Discord channels and then switch over to another communication strategy in the future. I would just say my experience from other Linux Foundation groups is that when it comes to communication on the community groups, I know it's antiquated, but like most of the other groups I deal with do email, and like particularly like I'll get an email like 3 days before the meeting saying, hey, this week's meeting, this is the agenda. And then like I'll see that email and I'll decide whether I want to attend or not. And the other nice thing is like most other like Linux Foundation or a lot of other groups, like you can go in, if you miss the email, if you want to know what's coming up, you could go into they have a email thread or an email, like you can see all the emails to the group and you can kind of just find the email for your for the new agenda coming up or for past agendas. I'm not saying we have to do email. I just think that works really well for a lot of other Linux Foundation community things. Because the problem is like with Discord or other these things, like not everybody uses those. Like even I'm not the best user of Discord. Also, I think I've heard through the grapevine, Henrik, you're also thinking about maybe another communication channel for the future. So I would just say like I think this like how we're going to communicate to the SDK group needs thought, and I think we want to try to get it right the first time and use whatever we're planning to use long term.
Yeah, I agree. Regarding mail, I hoped that we do not need to use that because while I agree, if you are just in one group and you get that mail and everything is fine, that is good, but I'm part in one, especially in the Apache Foundation, open source projects where I get multiple emails each day because it's not only that, all the discussions and things are done by mail. And that is from my point of view, way worse handleable than any chat tool, either if it's Discord or Slack or whatever. My hope was all the time that the Discord works out and that we can use the LFDT Discord as that is the public and open, like communication channel that we have. Sadly, there are several points which don't make it easy to to go that way and don't make it easy to just onboard everybody to the Discord. But yeah, I mean, I agree. The solution is not to just create another Discord channel. On the other hand, if Sophie wants to have that channel, I would be the last one saying no, we don't create it. Yeah, that is my point of view here.
Well, I would just say it's easy to create a Discord channel. It's much harder to maintain it and get momentum
Yeah.
for a Discord channel. That's usually where they fail. So again, if we have a strategy like, oh, okay, we're going to have this Discord channel, and like 3 days before every Hiero meeting, we're going to post the agenda in that Discord channel. And this is the place where if you have questions for SDK developers is where you can know, which there's a reverse to that. That also means that all SDK maintainers need to also maintain that Discord channel. Again, I just think we need a strategy. If we have a strategy, then we should do whatever we want to do. I just think it's too easy to say we're going to create a Discord channel without a strategy. And normally this just ends up with lots of empty Discord channels.
I agree. I agree on that. And I would love to say, hey, let's have that Discord channel. Everybody who's an SDK maintainer must be in the channel and must be willing to maintain it. And things like that, I totally agree on that. And I still believe and hope is that this is the solution that we will have at the end. But I cannot tell people that they must go to that channel.
I would just say, I mean, I think this is a special case where we can tell SDK maintainers, the majority of them, that they, as part of their job, they must maintain a Discord channel. Again, I think we have a lot of power to kind of tell people what to do, at least a lot of the SDK maintainers. It's just like I think we need the strategy before we tell them what to do.
We have the strategy. I've created a, I don't know, like 2-page strategy paper for that. even with in what people need to be taught, like, because now if a maintainer who worked all the time in internal projects now is working in the open, and people come and ask questions, it's a different way to work, and all that have been discussed and written down. But as I said, I'm not the person who can finally decide to say this is now a must, this is how it need to be done.
Well, maybe you can just answer a question because this came up in our last meeting, Hendrik, and I didn't know the answer either. Like, I think there's been two communication channels promoted. One is Discord, but the other one obviously is the issues within the GitHub repo itself. So if we say to maintainers, hey, we want you to monitor this for questions. I mean, obviously they would have to monitor GitHub issues and they would have to be responsive to third-party requests in those issues. Like, let's just say like I'm a new developer coming to C++. Where in your strategy, Henrik, where should I be raising questions about the SDK, like about something about the SDK itself? Should it be in GitHub issues or should it be in Discord? And should it be in a common Discord channel or a specific C++ Discord channel?
Okay. So I don't know if there's only the one and only two channel for that. I think GitHub issues are always one channel, that is just a channel that is easy to use, that is normal for developers. When I depend on anything and I found an issue and it's on GitHub, I open an issue for it. If that thing has GitHub discussions enabled and I'm not 100% sure, I maybe open a GitHub discussion. So those two things, from my point of view, should always be open for people who are not that deep into the community, who don't want to get into a Discord, join another Discord, whatever, because they have just this one question. But that ends in saying, yeah, I mean, there should be a discussion on Discord where you can, just write things, discuss things, and then you have issues in general on GitHub that you need to track to and work out too, because everybody can just open an issue on GitHub. And Andrew has hands up.
Yeah, Hendrik, I was just curious. You said that you have like a two-page strategy document for this. Can you just provide a link to that for me by chance?
And it's an internal document. I can send you an internal link in a second. Sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'd like to see it too, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess my thought has always kind of been like if someone's like working on a particular issue, like they can always just ask a question in that issue, just tag a maintainer or GFI support or whoever to get help. But then if it's another question that's kind of more broad, then that's something they could go to the Discord for. That's kind of what I've always thought. I don't necessarily see any other channel they would need to ask questions. But that's just me.
The reason why I think this needs thought, and again, I love to see your strategy to document, Henrik, is because like there's effort involved. Like if we say to, if you're again, I'll just stick with the C++ maintainer like Robert. Is it Robert's job day to day to check for questions in the GitHub issues? Okay, I think we're saying yes, for sure. That's a given. But then are we saying in addition, he also monitor like these two channels in Discord every 24 hours to see if any new questions are coming up? Like that's the major question. Like, are we saying Robert needs to manage the common Discord channel and look for anything that's maybe related to C++? And in addition, he needs to monitor a dedicated C++, because then it becomes
no.
Robert.
Yeah, no. My assumption. Oh, Sophie, can I just answer that question because you have hands up, and then go to you? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect, thank you. So Keith, my assumption would be if somebody asked, oh, how to do XYZ with the C++ SDK in the SDK community channel, somebody in this channel would say, hey, can you please ask that question in the C++ SDK channel because that would be the right place. So I'm not saying that, as an example, let's take Rob, needs to look every day in the SDK community channel and see if there's a C++ issue coming up. My wish would be that if such a question ends in that channel, somebody who's in that channel, another maintainer, maybe Rob, whoever, will say, hey, can you please ask that channel at the right place? Same as if somebody in the Python SDK opens an issue about the Rust SDK. Then you would say, hey, thank you, but this is the wrong place. Can you please open this issue again in the Rust SDK? Here's the link to it. That would be my assumption.
Man, I love to hear with Sophie. I mean, you guys got the most experience with communication channels. I mean, what's working and not working for you guys when it comes to questions within the Python SDK?
We are finally starting to get some traction in the Python Discord. And I think I mean there's 11 of us here on this call. I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how much time or anything you would have available. I understand the time issue is close to everyone's heart because we're all very hardworking and things. Yeah, we were able to get some traction in the Python Discord, and so what I like, I would consider it like a group effort maybe. So it's not necessarily I wouldn't say it like, okay, I need to check this all the time because it's like a, I have to do this. It's more like, oh, let's see what's going on. Let's catch up with other people. More like maybe like a social thing. So I would like, if it's okay with you guys, I would like advocate for posting little messages like this. It's just actually like even in the Python SDK, I was just posting things like, hey, does anyone have any questions? I'm just checking in if anyone has any questions, and it turns out that somebody did. So even though the chat was kind of silent, just kind of bringing up the idea of like, hey, does anyone have something that they want to talk about is actually a pretty nice thing. I have lost this, haven't I? Hiero. Yeah, this is very funny. I don't know if I put the other one. I had to silence all the other ones because that's kind of what helped me as well. Okay, this is a game of spotting. The other one, SDK community. Okay, just kind of adding like calls here. Does anyone have any questions or any feedback? That's just like a very open thing, which maybe there's 11 of us. I mean, some of us are posting questions here in the chat right now. Maybe what we can do is bring some of these questions over into this Discord. Maybe not all of them. Maybe some are better to put in here. But maybe if they're more general things, maybe that could be something to do. And if there's 11 of us, that's actually maybe quite a lot of things happening already. So I really find just checking in every now and then. Does anyone have any questions? Offering like a helping hand. That's been really good. We also have some good activity going in the maintainers Discord. I've been able to start getting some help there as well. So I think we're on a more positive path, at least from my experience. Things are becoming more active, and it's initially in the beginning quite slow moving. But if we are all able to kind of group together every so often, it doesn't have to be, hours upon hours, and it can be like a fun place to hang out. I think things could improve, and then maybe in a couple of months, I would say, Keith, maybe we could reassess how well it's meeting our needs, and if we do need like anything additional. But I have seen good benefits to having this Discord already. Maybe it can't replicate everything that I need it for, but I think it has a lot of benefits. Yeah. So yeah, if I've given you guys a chat, so I'll paste it here again. If anyone has any questions or anything they want to post, this is your moment to help seed the Hiero SDK community call Discord. That would be very, very exciting. Hopefully then it will just be easier to get it started and get the conversation going.
Yeah, I posted in the Zoom chat here, but I think that that channel will be good for uh posting like meeting links, agendas. I'm already kind of thinking what I will probably want to do is post the minutes every Monday, like afternoon for that Monday meeting, and then, ask for agenda items, and then even, post again like Thursday or Friday later that week. Just, it's, like, again, just trying to get people to any questions they have to put them on the agenda. Yeah, I think this channel will be good for that.
Oh, okay. So just to kind of, so from what I heard from your suggestion, Henrik, we do need like the which we have, like the common SDK channel, and that's what we should reference as like the go-to in our docs and stuff like that. And then we need a dedicated Discord channel for each of the SDK projects. And that's where, like, if there's specific questions, people can raise them either in GitHub issues or in the dedicated SDK channel. And then I think we need to work with the maintainers to make sure that they both, of course, maintain the GitHub issues, but also periodically look into their dedicated projects Discord for questions. Is that
Yeah.
a good summary of what's kind of needed?
I would say yes. I would even, and maybe so the more I think about it, at the beginning I was like, yeah, that is clear. We don't need to write that down or something. But in that discussion, it comes more that, yeah, maybe it really makes sense to write it down, because I would even go a step further and say, hey, if you ask about like a new feature or something in Discord, for sure, that should not be solved in Discord for sure. Then in Discord, the answer should be, oh yeah, that's great. Please create an issue. So it's not that Discord and GitHub should handle it the same. If somebody has a question, don't know how to do something, but an SDK can already do it, for sure, it's totally fine to ask that question in Discord, and no issue is needed for that. But if somebody found a bug or has a feature request or whatever and does that on GitHub, then we should always please that person to create an issue, because that is the right place for those discussions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we just need to write it down. And then I guess the other thing though, Henrik, is that I heard that you were working on an alternate communication strategy. I mean, I heard through the grapevine that you were looking at
Yeah.
Slack.
Can we, Keith,
Yeah.
let's that is an internal Hashgraph thing. I'm totally happy to discuss all that with you first of all, internal.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that in particular, but I just want to say, like, if we're planning to change in the future, then that's also a consideration, because it's very disruptive to move.
I agree.
Like, whatever we're going to do,
Yeah.
we should just decide, because it's extremely painful to try to move the communication medium.
I totally agree on 100%. Yeah. So I already said in this meeting what I think should be the solution at the end. Yeah, but we're trying different things.
So real quick, maybe somebody can help enlighten me here, but I also know that forum posts kind of have been coming back in popularity simply because they can be indexed easily by search engines. They can be sorted relatively easily. I know when I try and scroll through Discord and find old posts, it can be a little bit challenging. The search features aren't really that fantastic. Um, do does the Hiero Ledger organization have like a forum page? Um, and I understand, for posting agendas, we can certainly post as new individual discussion topics inside of GitHub repos, so everything's contained in one spot. But have we looked at forums at all as an alternative option there?
Not so far. My question is, and I'm not into like new forum technology, right? I think I used a forum last time some years ago. So when I compare it with GitHub discussions, are there benefits? Because I would say what a forum was in the past can be done with GitHub discussion quite well today.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I just wanted
Does
to
it
throw it out
is it
there.
like that, or do you see other benefits?
For me, in my opinion, I think that a forum just it lays it out very clearly because you can have, different basically sub forums, right? And then you can have a new topic for every agenda under there. Maybe that's something we can implement in GitHub discussions. I haven't seen anybody implement it in that way in GitHub
Mhm.
discussions yet. But I also have not investigated it that deeply. So maybe there's a great way to do it in some other way that I'm not aware of. But I just figured I'd throw it out there while we're talking about communication strategies, while we're trying to make people aware, maybe this is another option that we should at least investigate.
Yeah, sure. Makes totally sense. Keith.
Yeah. I mean, I just acknowledging that we're heading into an AI world and people less and less search, they just ask AI. I mean, I think, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the weakness of Discord is it's not that AI indexable. That's actually where forums are actually quite good. Like if I do my search in AI, I think it's more hitting like Stack Overflow and some of the other stuff. I mean, to be fair, AI also, at least my ChatGPT has trouble with GitHub, at least our GitHub. Um, but I think that's a consideration at least is like if we have like this really interesting discussion in somewhere, will AI be able to pick it up?
Yeah, I will say from my experience, GitHub discussions and GitHub code are not indexed particularly well by um, either AI bots or by Google for searches, but forums are generally a little bit better. Discord is not happening. And unless there are additional Discord agent bots that need to be added that I haven't looked at or been aware of, I think that forums are certainly a strong contender for that indexing and searchability.
Do you know why? I mean, from a just technical perspective, I would have assumed that forums and GitHub discussions are absolutely the same.
So my quick shoot from the hip thought on it is that the Google or GitHub discussions may act not kind of as like separate pages, but may be more embedded pages. And the
Mm,
linking there isn't as easy for Google to index and follow as, or AI bots to follow as a standard forum structure where you kind of have your root level directory of all of your, major organizations. Then you have one organization with multiple topics And then you can open a new thread in each topic, and it's a very hierarchical
Mm,
structure. So it's
mm.
easy to traverse, it's easy to understand, it's easy to search and index. Um, but GitHub discussions may not necessarily do that kind of structure.
Yeah. I would have
I,
assumed since GitHub discussions just have one level, you have like a set of discussions, which is a thread at its own. It could even be easier, but I'm totally not into that. I was just curious about that. Yeah, okay.
I don't want to have a deep AI discussion, but I mean, I know like ChatGPT for whatever reason really struggles with our GitHub. When I say our, I mean the Hiero GitHub. But like Grok does a much better job. I think the way it's structured. So I mean, we don't go too deep, but I mean, I think this is a consideration at least. Is like, um, if we want conversations to be discovered by AI, what is the best communication medium? Um,
All right.
maybe
Cool.
just the other thing was, so Sophie, Hendrik, while you were on PTO, Sophie in our last meeting gave an amazing presentation, and she also sent that follow-up email. Now, I think Sophie, I've fallen behind. I had offered to help you work through some of your issues, but then I was kind of just waiting for Hendrik to come back. Um, you what do you still have some outstanding issues that you need support on resolving?
I think we're experiencing some good challenges. Um, I think Angie and I, there's a couple other people here in the Python SDK on the call. Farzan and Priyanshu. I think we would always welcome help with arms wide open. There's always something going on. Communication, better communication, just having more of these meetings and things like that would be really, really helpful to us in general. Yeah, it's we don't always get like a good opportunity to talk just about the Python SDK to it's like a broad audience. So Jessica, I think, reminded me of the Discord. That's why I've been using it more. And a lot can happen in the Python SDK in just a week. So sometimes we need help. And we
I,
might not have answers for it, but personally. So yeah, we've
I,
resolved
I
some of the issues, but we still need some more help. I think it would have to probably be another conversation some other time. I don't know whether the SDK community call is the best place for that.
Okay. I think one thing I had offered is maybe Hendrik, I was going to talk about this after. Maybe we can get a dedicated Slack channel going with Sophie just to talk through any of her specific blockers, and then but the other issue that Sophie raised in the last one, Hendrik, was like that they had a lot of developers coming to the Python SDK that were actually more interested in working in other codes like Java, JavaScript, but then the lack of first issues in those repos. So that was the other. I think she raised that in her email, but I think that was the other one that I think we were going to follow up on.
Yeah.
Maybe you and I can talk more this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm currently doing, so I'm just writing down a document, which is like I call it strategy document, however you want to call it, for all the other SDKs that are currently maintained by, like Hashgraph and contractors, because there we can easily do it to define some guidelines how we want to behave. And I hope that later this week that will be shared internally at Hashgraph, first of all, with the people working in SDKs and enable us to move good first issues and all those things in the SDKs into the right direction. Because, that need resources, that need people getting taught and all of that. And that is nothing I can decide. So I can just provide information and what should be done. And I'm currently trying to do that in a written form to move exactly that forward.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk more about that and how we can help you, Hendrik. And
Yeah.
yeah, I see we're over time. So thank you everyone for the meeting.
Yep. Any last questions, concerns, comments? All right. I think we're good. Thanks everyone for joining. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.